In a world where the ocean whispers secrets and the waves tell tales, we find ourselves drawn into the serene yet profound journey of a man named Jonah, a reluctant prophet who furthered his escapade into the belly of a great fish while trying to escape the call of the divine. Imagine the gentle lapping of water against the hull of a boat as you lean back, ease into your seat, and surrender to a story flowing like the tide. Each swell a reminder of the currents of life and faith. As we embark on this tranquil journey of redemption, we invite you to relax, to breathe deeply, and to allow the soft rhythm of our narrative to wash over you like a breeze across the tranquil sea. Our story unfolds with themes of faith, defiance, and the profound struggles of seeking purpose amidst chaos. We will explore the depths of Jonah's rebellion, his fervent attempts to flee from the divine call, and, ultimately, the transformative experience that awaited him beneath the waves. Along the way, we will hear from wise fishermen, contemplative sailors, and the harrowing tales of those who have wrestled with their own destinies in the face of a call they were hesitant to answer, creating a tapestry of interwoven narratives that are as timeless as the sea itself. As the tides turn and the waters calm, we invite you to listen closely, to let these stories resonate in the quiet corners of your heart, preparing you for the waves of reflection that will follow as we dive deeper into Jonah's mysterious and transformative encounter with the great fish. So stay tuned and let your spirit float along as the currents of faith guide us through this gentler understanding of our own intrinsic callings in life. The sun dipped low on the horizon, brushing the sky in hues of peach and lavender. The sea glistened, a vast tapestry woven from threads of gold and silver, each rhythmic wave an echo of whispered promises from the depths below. As the gentle breeze caressed Jonah's face, carrying the scent of salt and freedom intertwined, he sat at the helm of a humble vessel, a small sanctuary upon the expansive canvas of ocean. In this serene moment, the turmoil that had surged within him began to find its quiet among the gentle lap of the waves. It was as if the sea itself offered solace, each wave a hand cradling his troubled heart. He reflected on the word that had come to him, a call wrapped in the cloak of uncertainty. Was he truly the one to bear this message? Could a mere mortal, burdened by fear and doubt, deliver what the Creator entrusted him? The sun sighed beneath the sea's embrace, and as twilight nudged its way into the day, Jonah felt his thoughts swirl like the sudden dance of stars beginning to twinkle in the early night. His soul was a restless tide, grappling with the weight of his purpose while the ocean, vast and forgiving, seemed to suggest a different truth. Perhaps there was beauty in vulnerability, a strength hidden in the reluctance he felt. Jonah closed his eyes, letting the smoothness of the boat beneath him become a reminder of the life he had led, familiar yet burdened. There was a metaphor here, surely. The vessel was akin to his spirit, afloat yet tethered to the reality of the tasks at hand. The ship, built from the timber of ancient trees, danced lightly amidst the restless waters, illustrating how he too could find balance amidst uncertainty. As he breathed in the cooling air, Jonah imagined the vastness of the deep ocean below, possibly hosting wonders unknown, a hidden world of vibrant life nestled along coral avenues, teeming with colors unseen by daylight. He thought of the creatures dwelling in the darkness, thriving without ever witnessing the sun, a reminder that life flourished even in shadows. Was he not, too, in search of light amidst his dark uncertainty? Each sighing wave seemed to beckon him closer to acceptance. What if redemption lay not in resistance, but in allowing himself to be guided? Thoughts like luminescent algae, subtle yet powerful, began to illuminate corners of his heart once shrouded in doubt. The call did not demand perfection. It beckoned him to embrace his imperfections. As the moon rose, casting a silver glow over the water, Jonah felt a shift within. His heart, once overwhelmed by the weight of his mission, began to feel lighter, buoyed by an emerging understanding that destiny could blossom from the seeds of reluctance. The gentle rise and fall of the sea mimicked the rise of hope within him, unfolding softly, promising renewal. In that tranquil moment, Jonah gleaned a crucial insight. Acceptance of one's purpose could flourish silently, like the unseen coral reefs supporting life far below the waves. He understood that moving toward his calling would not rob him of peace. Instead, it would integrate into the essence of who he was meant to become. As he gazed out at the moon's reflection trembling upon the water's surface, he hoped for courage, not just for the journey ahead, but for the voyage within. A calm voyage towards understanding, acceptance, and ultimately, redemption. The sun hung low in the sky, draping the world in hues of golden amber and soft lavender. The air trembled gently, as if holding its breath, while the sea, a vast canvas of shimmering teal, unfolded before Jonah's eyes. Each tiny wave danced on the surface, their tiny crests gliding and folding into one another, whispering secrets known only to the depths. Jonah stood at the edge of the harbor, the scent of sun-warmed planks and briny breeze binding him to the moment. His heart fluttered with a mix of trepidation and yearning, a symphony of emotions reverberating through him. It was not simply the call of the distant shores of Tarshish that swayed him, but a deeper longing to escape, to flee from the weight of a destiny he felt ill-prepared to shoulder. The shadows of Nineveh fell over him like a storm cloud, heavy and oppressive, and so he chose to sail toward the uncharted waters, where he could silence the murmurs of obligation. As he embarked on the vessel, the boat creaked beneath his feet, a gentle reminder of the fragility of his choice. To Jonah, the vessel felt like a fragile leaf caught in a stream, drifting not by its own design but by the whims of currents unseen. The fishermen bustled about him, with laughter mingling with the songs of seagulls overhead, a carefree melody in stark contrast to the tempest that swirled within Jonah's heart. There was a soft light in the sky, vibrant yet tranquil. Jonah caught sight of distant gulls soaring, their wings painting arcs against a backdrop of fading light. Each flap hung heavily with the promise of freedom. Yet Jonah could not help but think of the depth of the ocean below, a realm both alluring and daunting. Beneath the surface, life continued with its own rhythm, colorful corals swaying in unison, remnants of ancient creatures lying nestled in the soft sands, each a story forgotten, yet everlasting. "What am I moving away from?" he whispered, as the horizon began to swallow the sun whole. Questions gnawed at him, and with each passing moment, the weight of denial grew heavier. The waves lapped rhythmically against the hull, an echo of wisdom that lingered just out of reach. Jonah contemplated the silence beneath the waves, where ancient coral gardens flickered in bioluminescent shades, reflecting the unseen world. One where the past and future intertwined like threads in a tapestry, unyielding, yet holding the potential of redemption. In that moment, Jonah emerged from his thoughts as the cool breeze kissed his skin, urging him to release the tension coiling within. He inhaled deeply, the salty air mingled with a hint of warmth, calming his senses. The stars would soon bloom overhead, a reflection of the infinite journeys crafted in the realm of dreams, reminding him that the call to return could be as gentle as the embrace of a loving friend. It was an evening of possibilities, where pathways converged. Jonah had left the shore behind, yet he felt as if he were still anchored to his true calling, like the roots of an ancient tree stretching deep into the soil, seeking sustenance. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows into the waters, he pondered. Perhaps Tarshish wasn't just a place to escape, but a vessel of enlightenment waiting to reveal the truths he'd suppressed. Tonight, amidst the boundless expanse of the sea, Jonah breathed in the profound stillness. The sun began its gentle descent, painting the sky in hues of lavender and gold, as Joppa's shore seemed to breathe deeply in the evening air. The rhythmic lapping of the waves against the smooth pebbles felt like a silent heartbeat echoing the deep pulse of the sea. Each tide brought with it a delicate scent of brine, infused with the warmth of the fading sun, inviting Jonah to pay homage to the moment, to breathe in the soothing essence of his surroundings. Standing at the edge of the shoreline, Jonah's heart was a tapestry of conflicting emotions, woven intricately into each wave that kissed the shore. The weight of past decisions hung like low-hanging clouds, yet beneath them flickered the light of a burgeoning hope, a hope that spoke of redemption, of trails yet to be explored. Gone was the thunderous roar of inner turmoil. Now lingered a soft reassurance that the journey ahead, though unknown, bore promise. He closed his eyes, allowing the sounds of the world around him to swirl in the sanctuary of his mind, a symphony of nature's embrace. With the sea breeze weaving through his hair and the sun's warmth gracing his skin, Jonah envisioned the vastness that lay beyond the horizon. In that tranquil expanse, he saw reflections of his own tumultuous feelings. Waves rolled in a graceful dance, a reminder that even the fiercest storms promote the most profound changes beneath the surface. Like the ocean, I too can adapt, can surrender to the flow of life, he thought, realizing that each swell and retreat echoed the rhythm of his own journey through uncertainty. A pair of seagulls carved arcs in the air, their carefree flight a poetic contrast to his burdens. They soared, lifted by the wind, embodying a freedom so desired yet inexplicably distant. Jonah found solace in their flight. With each graceful loop, he recognized the beauty in letting go. Perhaps I could rise too, free from the shackles of my past, he mused. The thought settling in his mind like the gentle surface of the water, calm but deep. As dusk crept in, the gentle glow of twilight cast soft shadows upon the sand. Jonah's gaze fixated on the horizon where the sea met the sky, blurring the lines of reality. The vastness of the ocean seemed to hold ancient secrets. Whispers of longing and fulfillment nestled in its depths, and he pondered. What treasures remained undiscovered within him? The waters were home to creatures that thrived in the dark, bioluminescence of hope hidden within the unseen. There, in that profound thought, he found a new light. The realization that he too contained depths yet to be explored. Reservoirs of compassion lost amid the tides of doubt and fear. Emboldened, he took a step forward, feet sinking into the cool sand, grounding him in the fleeting moment. As the waves lapped gently around his ankles, it was a soft reminder that forward motion was essential, even if progress seemed incremental. Just as the waters ebbed and flowed, Jonah understood that his journey would not be a straight path but rather a swirling dance, one of forgiveness, understanding, and ultimately acceptance. With a heart that felt lighter, he looked back at Joppa, a place from which uncertain roots had formed. And as the stars began to twinkle overhead, each one a small beacon of hope, Jonah whispered a silent farewell to the shore, carrying with him the lessons embraced in that moment. The tides would continue to rise and fall, but Jonah had embraced the larger story. In the grand design of life, there existed a beautiful freedom in letting go, a newfound serenity that urged him onward. As he turned his gaze to the distant water, he recalled that even the deepest journeys begin with a single footstep, and in that simple truth he found peace. In the quiet farewell to Joppa's shore, a tender promise, the sea lay still beneath a vast expanse of sky, its blue depths unbroken save for the gentle rippling, a soft embrace against the ever-so-faint whispers of the wind. The horizon beckoned, where sunlit reflections danced like dreams slipping through Jonah's fingers, illuminating the fleeting thoughts ensnared in his heart. Here, a sanctuary nestled within the infinite vastness, he sought solace, yet also the tangled remnants of his own heart. Jonah's breath stirred, floating languidly into the air like delicate smoke trailing from a flickering candle. Each inhalation carried the scent of salt and seaweed, a reminder of where he had come from and where he dared not go. Beneath the tranquil surface lurked unfathomable depths, a reminder of his own troubled spirit, grappling with destiny and escape. Just as the coral thrived against relentless currents by gripping firmly to the seabed, so too did Jonah feel the invisible threads of his fate guiding him, even as he attempted to release his grasp. With his heart anchored by uncertainty, Jonah's mind meandered through a labyrinth of thoughts. Why did he resist the call that beckoned him onward? Was it fear of the unknown, or perhaps a longing for something deeper? In the gentle sway of the moment, he unearthed a surprising insight. Sometimes redemption wears the face of discomfort. The act of stepping into the current of one's life, like a blind traveler trusting the sway of the ocean, often requires one to release the allure of certainty in favor of an unfolding journey. His journey. As the sun's golden embrace began its descent, Jonah marveled at how the changing light transformed the water into molten gold, each flickering wave a reminder of shifting tides. Ephemeral and ever-changing, much like his own fears and hopes that danced at the edges of his soul. He understood then, in the stillness of twilight, that avoidance, his ticket to avoid destiny, had only shackled him to a life devoid of authenticity. Eager for new beginnings, Jonah's heart began to lighten, each pulse resonating with an uncharted rhythm. He envisioned each ebb and flow of the ocean as a teacher preparing him, coaxing out the buried wisdom he had not acknowledged, the pearls nestled within his vulnerabilities. Like a deep-sea diver unearthing the wonder of ancient coral, Jonah realized his path to profound understanding lay not in evasion, but rather in embracing the elements of his existence. As night unfurled its silken cloak above the waters, peppered with stars twinkling in the velvet expanse, Jonah felt a stirring within. The ocean mirrored the galaxy, each shimmering bead a testament to potential, a hint of promise that awaited him should he choose to reach for it. So, with gentle resolve, he began to understand that destiny need not be feared. It was merely an invitation to step out of shadow and into light. Jonah's spirit, once tethered by reluctance, began to float buoyantly with promise, allowing dreams to rise like bubbles towards the surface. For every twist and turn he had sought to avoid, he now accepted as part of an intricate tapestry woven by his own choices. And, as he settled into the embrace of night, surrounded by the vastness of the cosmos, he surrendered to the possibility that the journey ahead, though fraught with uncertainty, held the keys to his redemption. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky transformed into a tapestry of pastels, deep oranges mingling with soft purples, casting a gentle luminescence across the waters. The ocean, a vast expanse of shimmering teal, exhaled softly, as if the day were sighing its contentment. Beneath the surface, the rhythm of aquatic life pulsed in harmony, while the air brimmed with the salty tang of the sea, an ever-present reminder of nature's embrace. Sitting in stillness on the boat, Jonah felt a profound tranquility wrap around him, the kind that seeps into your bones and whispers of quiet thoughts. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil that had spurred him to this lonely voyage, a reminder that sometimes stillness can mirror the wildest of storms within. Jonah's thoughts drifted like the clouds above, light and fleeting, yet firmly grounded in the memories of footsteps lost in the sand, choices made, and the call of the unknown. He reflected on the shadows of his past, how they lingered like ancient corals, beautiful yet covered in the barnacles of guilt and hesitation, weighing him down. In that brief moment of calm, as the sun kissed the ocean goodnight, he contemplated the vastness of the sea in front of him, not as an insurmountable challenge, but as a canvas, a place where the depths hid stories untold, where the pulses of life kept underneath could mirror his own journey of redemption. Like the biomes that thrive around hydrothermal vents, he recognized resilience in the darkest of places. The cessation of chaos could usher in a renewal, where unexpected connections could sprout amidst the adversity. There, life flourished where light could not reach, echoing his own potential to transform and regenerate, despite his past mistakes. With the wind softly tousling his hair, Jonah peeled back layers of his thoughts. Each remembered failure began to feel less like chains and more like stepping stones leading him toward understanding. The gentle bobbing of the boat felt like a heartbeat in tandem with his own as he surrendered to this moment of introspection. As dusk had deepened, painting the world in shades of twilight, Jonah's heart opened slowly, like the petals of a night-blooming flower. He felt an inner stirring, whispering of the possibility of light found not just in redemption, but in acceptance. The stagnant stain of regret, he realized, could serve as a rich soil for growth, provided he had the courage to confront it. And as the first stars began to twinkle above, their shimmering reflections danced on the water's surface, reminding him of hope and continuity. It cocooned him in its embrace, illuminating the path ahead, yet to be traversed. Deep down, Jonah understood that while the storm might come, fierce and unyielding, the journey of his spirit could remain one of serenity, anchored by the clarity of purpose he now sought. So he breathed deeply, inhaling the night air rich with salt and promise, and let it all settle. This was the calm before the storm, a moment of quiet grace before the taste of redemption swelled within him, urging him to step forth into the tempest with newfound faith. The sea lay beneath a vast expanse of sky, a canvas brimming with swirling shades of gray and blue. Gentle waves danced in muted rhythm, kissed by a delicate wind that carried the scent of salt and promise. Above, clouds congregated, pregnant with the weight of an impending storm, their shadows casting fleeting darkness upon the shimmering surface. Each gust of the wind felt alive, whispering secrets of the deep as they teased the surface with a playful flicker. Jonah stood at the edge of his vessel, grounded yet adrift, the gentle sway of the ship invoking a sense of unease that mingled with the beauty surrounding him. His heart, once a clamor of regret and despair, had begun its delicate journey toward something softer, a reverie of hope, perhaps. The horizon, a thin line between reality and dreams, beckoned him forward, a reminder of the depths where mysteries waited, unseen. He stared into the water, the surface once more inviting and unforgiving. He found himself entranced by a ripple that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. It whispered tales of the abyssal plains below, where light dared not traverse and ancient ecosystems thrived in profound darkness. Here coral structures rose like forgotten castles, resilient against time and tide, each a testament to survival amid chaos. Jonah contemplated the endurance of life, how it often emerged from the most unexpected places, the crevices of despair among the vastness of sorrow. What lies beneath, he pondered, feeling the tightening in his chest not from fear but curiosity. The waves shifted, and in their rhythmic embrace, he sensed the darkness within himself beginning to unravel, layer by layer, like the shedding of a serpent's skin. Each layer revealed a new observation of his worth, entangled in the very fabric of existence as the ocean cradled him softly amidst its stormy cloak. A sudden gust of wind rattled against the ship, reminiscent of an awakening. In that tempestuous embrace, Jonah felt vulnerability's bloom. A realization sprang forth like a flower breaking the soil after a long winter. He understood that to navigate the storms of life was to honor both the tempest and the calm. Through fear lay the path to understanding, and within every hardship, a lesson awaited. Patiently, like the shy ocean life that sought refuge in the darkest depths. Drawing in the air, rich with untold stories of the sea, his thoughts began to shift. He felt the weight of judgment dissipate like the clouds above, revealing the blue of acceptance. Acceptance of himself, of his past decisions, and a budding willingness to seek forgiveness not just from others, but from the very essence of his own being. The tempest highlighted the resilience residing within him, urging him to embrace each wave as both a challenge and a teacher. As the storm drew near, Jonah welcomed its embrace, knowing now that he could not escape its fury, but could ride its currents with grace. He was inextricably bound to the ebb and flow of life, his frame a vessel of resilience that would carry him through both gales and whispers. In the eye of it all, he pondered softly, perhaps the true journey lies not in escaping the storm, but in learning to dance within it. And thus, absorbed in the wisdom of the sea and the promise of redemption, As the expanse of the ocean stretched endlessly under the soft light of early dawn, the sky was painted in hues of lavender and amber, a gentle mosaic signaling the arrival of another day. The rhythmic lapping of waves against the sturdy timbers of the ship whispered tales forgotten, while the scent of salt hung in the air, mingled with a hint of impending storm, a warning that was both visible and felt. Within the hull, a cacophony of fear and desperation unfolded. The sailors moved restlessly, their faces pale and drawn, reflecting the tumultuous sky above. The ship creaked a mournful sound, as if echoing the worries contained in the hearts of the crew. They gathered, hands clasped and voices raised in a frenzied prayer, seeking solace, answers, and strength from the divine. Each man, a thread in the fabric of desperation, found in prayer a sanctuary against the chaos surrounding them. Jonah, however, felt the weight of guilt tugging at him, a leaden anchor to this vessel of panicked souls. He had brought them into this tempest, and a shadow of sorrow crept into the corners of his heart, threatening to consume him whole. As he listened to their earnest pleas, the words wove in and out of his thoughts, a tapestry of hope and despair, with each prayer mingling with the spray of the waves. O great Creator, hear our call. Spare our lives. Guide us through this dark. The sincerity of their cries resonated deeply within him, shimmering like the light-flecked waves that danced beneath the ship. Despite his resolve to flee from destiny, the warmth of their faith had ignited a flicker of recognition in his soul, a realization that perhaps redemption lay not in escape, but in the embrace of their shared plight. Among their pleas, one sailor, voice trembling but resolute, spoke of the ocean's unfathomable depths, an abyss filled with mysteries and ancient life, while others echoed the imagery of storms that mirror the chaos in one's heart. The metaphor danced through Jonah's mind, each word washed with waves of clarity. He envisioned the deep as a garden thriving beyond human grasp, where resilience blooms amidst the darkness. It challenged him to see that, like the creatures who navigate these profound waters, he too could find sustenance in his uncertainty, strength in acceptance. As the winds howled and the ship rocked violently, Jonah stood at the edge of realization. The tumult had cast a mirror upon his spirit, revealing the disarray he had sought to escape. Could he bring solace to these men as they prayed so fervently for calm? In their devotion, he found that thread of humanity binding him to them, reminding him that in order to seek redemption, one must first acknowledge the storms that rage within. He inhaled deeply, filled with the salt of the sea and the fervor of his fellow sailors' faith, feeling it elevate his dampened spirit. Though the tempest around them howled with ferocity, a serene light flickered in his heart, guiding him back toward compassion and away from solitude. Jonah resolved that no matter the outcome, he would embrace this act of faith. Perhaps therein lay the path back to himself. As their prayers collided with the fury of the storm, Jonah understood that every being lost in the waves seeks not just deliverance from anxiety, but the warmth of connection in the heart of despair. And, with that realization, he felt a softness envelop him, the quiet promise of redemption, even amidst the chaos. As the sun began its slow descent below the horizon, casting a warm, golden light over the tranquil sea, Jonah found himself lingering on the edge of a choice. The soft lapping of the waves against the boat's hull seemed to echo the rhythm of his heart, a gentle reminder of the internal struggle that had brought him to this moment. The air was thick with the scent of salt and adventure, an intoxicating blend that filled his lungs with purpose, yet tangled with apprehension. He sat quietly, staring into the vastness of the water, where the sky kissed the waves in a silent embrace. Each ripple sparkled like scattered diamonds, dancing joyfully under the fading sunlight, beckoning him to join their celebration. Yet Jonah felt heavy, weighed down by the enormity of his decision, to heed the call that had thundered through his soul, or to drift further into the unknown. His mind drifted to the depths beneath the surface, where life thrived in darkness, hidden from the light above. It struck him then, the astonishing parallels between his situation and that mysterious deep sea, where creatures lived by their own rules, thriving in their alien ecosystems. Just as a deep-sea coral might reach towards the fickle light above, Jonah too felt the pull of destiny urging him forward. Thoughts swirled within him, tinged with fear, yet ignited by a spark of hope. What awaited him in the city of Nineveh? Would he find acceptance or rejection, clarity or chaos? The choice loomed like a distant lighthouse, its light flickering amidst the stormy skies of his heart. Each moment stretched, suspended in time, enhancing the weight of indecision. As Jonah breathed in the fragrant sea air, he felt a gentle nudge within him, akin to the slow current guiding a drifting leaf towards its destination. Was this the whisper of his own heart, yearning for redemption? Or perhaps a reminder that sometimes true peace lies beyond fear? In these quiet moments, he began to recognize how the conflict within him mirrored the struggles of the world around. The horizon shifted, colors blending into soft pastels as twilight approached, and though a storm might brew within, there was also profound beauty in this transition. Jonah understood he could illuminate his path not by the absence of fear, but by embracing it, much like a lighthouse stands tall before the fury of crashing waves. His heart began to settle, and he knew then that every journey, no matter how daunting, held potential for renewal. In his heart, he felt the stirring of courage that dared him to confront the echo of his choice. The gentle art of releasing the tight grasp of control over others, as well as the hope of finding his own footing in an unfamiliar place, opened a pathway towards grace. As the last sliver of sunlight bid farewell to the day, painting the world with the remnants of warmth, Jonah's heart resonated with newfound clarity. In this stillness, where nature and spirit intertwined, he understood that his choice was not merely about leaving, but about becoming. And, perhaps, within that quiet understanding, he would find the much-desired redemption both he and others so sought. In the deep cradle of the ocean, where light surrenders to the embrace of darkness, Jonah found himself enveloped in a cocoon of quietude. The currents swayed with a gentle resolve, brushed in twilight hues, as if the very sea whispered secrets to its depths. Here in the abyss, the mingling sense of brine and ancient coral enveloped him, coaxing away the clamor of his past thoughts. Suspended in this profound stillness, Jonah's heart danced through an evolving rhythm of introspection. The turmoil of his earlier days faded like morning mist retreating from the dawning sun. In the profound silence, he contemplated the choices that led him to the very edge of despair. He pondered. Was it courage or fear that drove him into the belly of the great fish? The vastness around him echoed with unspoken questions, reverberating against the fabric of his soul. With every pulse of the sea, Jonah felt his burdens lightly nudged away, as if each wave carried off a fragment of his uncertainty. He surrendered to the cadence of the water's embrace, feeling the warmth from the depths of his spirit awaken as he began to recognize the beauty within his predicament. In this unexpected sanctuary, Jonah was gently cradled by an anemone-like creature, wobbly yet striking, its translucent tentacles reaching out like hopeful fingers seeking connection. He marveled at its fragile existence, an intricate dance of life in this infinite blue. It was in this moment that he pondered the interdependence of life, each being playing its role in a grand tapestry, no matter how small. He felt a stirring within, a subtle reminder that even from the shroud of the unknown, lessons could emerge. Each movement of the water bore witness to his changing heart. Gone was the resentment and resistance. Instead, he embraced the currents with newfound acceptance, recognizing that the abyss was not just a void but a place of transformation. The walls of the fish around him were not suffocating, but rather a womb, nurturing him through this passage. From the depths, Jonah perceived a new metaphor for his journey. Not a battle against the sea, but a rhythm of coexistence with it. The abyss, rather than an ending, whispered to him as a beginning, a vast expanse laden with possibility. As Jonah surrendered deeper into this tranquil abyss, he felt the warmth of hope wrap around him like a soothing balm. He understood, in that splendid moment, the weight of his past began to lessen. Each heartbeat connected him not only to the creature that enveloped him, but to the universe at large, where troubles washed away in the gentle embrace of the sea. Softly, as if cradling a secret, Jonah reflected on the journey ahead. The abyss was not a place where endings occurred, but a pivotal point of awakening. He was not merely called to the depths. He was invited to discover what lay beneath the surface of his own soul. And there, in the stillness, a promise shimmered. That redemption awaited not at the end of the journey, but within the voyage itself. The moon hung low, a soft lantern illuminating the vast stretches of silent waters, where the surface glimmered with an ethereal sheen. The sea was an endless expanse, undulating gently, reflecting fragments of the night sky as if the stars themselves wished to dive beneath the surface. A gentle breeze swept across, carrying the whispers of the distant shores mingling with the salt of the ocean, conjuring a melody both haunting and serene. Jonah sat perched at the edge of the boat, where the wood beneath him felt cool and damp, a sturdy barrier between him and the unfathomable depths below. Night silhouettes danced along the horizon, swaying as shadows of ancient stories whispered to him. Here, adrift in silent waters, there was a peculiar feeling. A paradox of calm washed over him, yet within it stirred the tendrils of unspeakable fear, coiling tightly around his heart. As he gazed into the abyss, visions of his past flashed before his eyes like rough waves crashing against the shore. He thought of his flight from the call, his defiance like a tempest that had risen from idle thoughts and poor decisions, now casting shadows upon his soul's fragile canvas. In this stillness, the currents of guilt began to shift the sands of his introspection, making him aware that fear was not merely a feeling but a conduit to understanding himself. What lay beneath the serene surface? A swirling mosaic of life, beautiful, vibrant, yet inscrutable. Jonah recalled the workshops of ocean creatures, the schools of fish darting like whispers through the coral canyons, their existence living symphonies capturing the light. Each moment in these waters held an unfathomable connection to his own life, where retribution and redemption danced hand in hand like twin tides. In the depths of his inner turmoil, Jonah found a new metaphor etched into the silent waters, a reflection of resilience amidst fear. The sea was a reminder that all creatures must surface, however deep the struggles hide. Just like the phosphorescence of those hidden beneath, glimmers of potential awaited to emerge when one allows oneself to be vulnerable. The profound waters, he realized, offered not just the weight of despair, but the possibility of rebirth. The boat rocked ever so lightly beneath him, a soft cradle of acceptance. Jonah drew in a breath, feeling the salty air fill his lungs, imagining it washing over his anxieties. He understood now that fear, when examined closely, could unveil truths about his journey, that surrender could birth salvation, and looking back could illuminate the paths to wisdom. As he absorbed the shimmering moonlight painting the ocean, Jonah surrendered to the tranquil embrace of the night. The unspoken fears began to fade like morning mist, replaced by a gentle understanding that, in the quiet depths, he was not alone. The waters, once a source of anxiety, became a mirror reflecting the contours of his soul, a reminder that from shadows, light would emerge. In this calm journey, nestled upon silent waters, Jonah found the first fragile ripple of redemption. And perhaps, in fear lies not the absence of peace, but the cradle from which it might grow. Beneath the moonlit sea, the world above felt distant, blurred by pressing layers of water that thickened the air, bringing the aroma of ancient kelp and the faint scent of sandy shores. In this solemn chamber, Jonah found himself surrounded by the cool embrace of the depths, a sanctuary both foreign and calming. The pressure of the ocean cradled him, pushing down as if to encourage a profound unraveling, stripping away the cluttered thoughts that had once occupied his mind like flotsam, tangling together in chaotic confusion. As silence enveloped him, punctuated only by the faint echoes of the ocean's rhythm, Jonah settled into a reflective stillness. With each heartbeat, he felt the melancholy of his past choices, intertwining like seaweeds clinging to a sunken ship, heavy with the weight of regret yet resilient in their grasp. Here, he pondered not just the flight from his destiny, but the lessons hidden in the shadows of his defiance. In the sublime obscurity, marked by splashes of silver where the moonlight filtered through the water's surface, Jonah began to see that his journey was not merely about escape. The deeper he ventured into this watery embrace, the clearer he could perceive the contours of his spirit. The bioluminescent glow from unseen organisms struck unexpectedly against his vision, illuminating thoughts he had yet to confront. They danced like memories, flickering and vibrant, yet momentarily lost among the vastness of the ocean. A soft, almost imperceptible pulse reverberated in the very marrow of this aquatic solitude, a heartbeat that resonated with his own. It reminded Jonah of ancient coral, which thrived in the abyss yet required depth and darkness to grow. Similarly, in this journey, a hidden wisdom revealed itself. He, too, must embrace the dark to discover the light that lay dormant within his heart. Each breath he took, thick with the taste of salt and mystery, felt like a promise. Jonah thought of the great fish that had brought him to this moment. not as an enemy, but as a guide propelling him towards introspection. The creature that once symbolized his fears transformed into a vessel of revelation, a teacher among tides. He realized that fear does not need to paralyze. It can serve as a compass, leading towards understanding and acceptance. Emerging from the reflections that encased him, Jonah found resolve taking root amidst the remnants of his confusion. No longer did he wear the mantle of transgressor, but that of a seeker ready to delve deeper into the ocean of his own soul, ready to acknowledge both light and shadow within itself. And so, with a spirit imbued with a newfound clarity, he embraced the currents that pulled him ever onwards. As the depths whispered secrets into the inkiness surrounding him, Jonah felt the weight of what was lost fade into the wisdom gained, and a gentle conviction washed over him. Each journey into darkness can lead to a greater understanding of the light, offering redemption like a fragile pearl hidden within the shell of experience. In this stillness, as he surrendered to the tides that carried him forward, Jonah understood. Light and shadow coexist, cradling life in a delicate balance, illuminating paths unseen. One must only die. As the dawn began to unfold over the vast, undulating expanse of the sea, the world awoke in hushed tones. The gentle lap of the waves against the sides of the great fish became a soothing symphony, a melody that spoke of ancient rhythms and the quiet secrets held beneath the surface. Jonah, nestled within the warm embrace of the creature's belly, felt the ebb and flow of the ocean seep into his very being. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth blending with salt, each breath a reminder of the life he had momentarily lost and the journey he had yet to reclaim. An ethereal light twinkled through gelatinous walls, casting dancing shadows that urged his mind to ponder the fragility of existence. His heart, once marred by fear and resentment, began to soften like the dawn light filtering through the mist. Pondering the life he had fled from, how vibrant and unpredictable, a tapestry woven with threads of hope and despair, Jonah found himself reflecting on his choices. Each thread pulled tighter with his reluctance, each frayed edge shouting silently of love untended and promises unfulfilled. In these moments of quiet introspection, Jonah conjured the image of coral reefs, delicate ecosystems thriving in darkness and silence, miraculously alive amidst the crushing weight of the sea. How could such beauty persist in the depths, where sunlight was but a whispered memory? Like those corals, he understood, he too must learn to be resilient in the face of fear. He recalled the distant feeling of floating along the shoreline, the exhilaration of the sea breeze against his skin, bringing whispers of far-off lands and adventures yet unknown. The thought trembled within him. Just as life surged fiercely against the rocks, threatening to break and scatter, Jonah realized that he had the power to choose how he met each wave. As he lay submerged in his reflections, he considered his own sense of value and belonging. There was a quiet voice within, speaking gently, urging him to embrace himself, flaws and all, as a cherished part of the universe's grand design. How easy it was to silence that voice amidst the noise of regret. Yet, here in this womb of darkness, it became a beacon, guiding him closer to acceptance. Jonah closed his eyes, envisioning the ocean not as a barrier or punishment, but a crucible of transformation, much like the soil nourishing a seed. The weight he carried began to lighten as he pictured the seeds of lessons learned, germinating in the depths of his soul. Each heartbeat seemed to echo the promise of renewal, shadowed by the flickering memories of his past, yet glowing with possibility. As the soft heartbeat of the great fish resonated deeply, harmonizing with Jonah's own, he gently whispered to the waters around him, "I am not lost. I am becoming. I hold every piece I ever was, and from this surrender I will bloom anew." In that moment, a gratifying warmth enveloped him, a gentle reminder that redemption is not the absence of struggle but the embrace of one's own journey. And in the depths of the sea he felt the stirring whispers of hope, a soft echo guiding him toward the shore where he could finally become whole. In the vast, undulating navy of the deep ocean, time seemed to flow softer, as if caught in a gentle current of reflection. The embrace of the great fish wrapped around Jonah like a warm cloud, isolating him from the storms of the world above. The interior of the creature was a sanctuary, muffled by layers of flesh, where each pulse of the heart reverberated like distant thunder in a summer sky, constant and calming. The scent of brine mingled not only with the fish's salty skin but with the ocean's essence, organic and primordial. Pockets of darkness glimmered faintly, revealing a hidden landscape rich with the history of the sea. Woven seaweeds, scaled shadows, and droplets caught mid-fall like forgotten dreams suspended in time. Each flicker of light seemed to whisper secrets of the abyss, of ancient coral formations that had witnessed the passage of untold centuries, their chakra-like beauty resonating with stories long forgotten. Within this interstitial space, Jonah began to feel the layers of his own turmoil shed like the skin of a molting creature. In the heft of his own sorrow, there was a paradoxical lightness. Surrounded by the gentle press of waves from the fish's movements, he contemplated how the ocean's depths often held treasures hidden under the debris of fear and failure. What lies beneath the surface? He pondered, the question forming a soft ripple in his thoughts. Is not the ocean a reflection of the heart, vast and unfathomable, filled with both beauty and loss? With every beat of the fish's heart, he felt the weight of isolation slowly lift. The profound loneliness that had wrapped around him like a shroud was giving way to a blossoming understanding. Here, inside this great creature, he was no longer fleeing, but instead taking root, finding himself within the quietude. Jonah's mind drifted to the luminous creatures of the deep, bioluminescence a rare metaphor for hope, as transient as flickering memories. Each tiny being existed in contrast to the deep-sea stillness, thriving in darkness with bursts of brilliance that spoke of resilience. His journey had been one of flight, bravado, and avoidance, yet now, encased in this gentle cocoon, he began to see the resurgence of strength born from acceptance. It was a reversal of fortune, a gentle jolt, as the fish's rhythmic sighs shaped his awareness. The realization blossomed. The very act of surrender could lead to unparalleled freedom. Jonah's earlier judgments about being trapped shifted to an understanding that sometimes confinement can be a conduit to self-discovery. In that dim space of contemplation, Jonah discovered a delicate truth. Just as the ocean held within it the potential for storms, it also harbored peace, and it taught that struggles, like tides, can ebb and flow. He inhaled deeply, embracing the ocean's lessons, allowing grace to seep into his heart. As he prepared to emerge back into the world, Not as a runaway, but as a renewed spirit, Jonah felt the embrace of the fish shift from a place of isolation to one of nurturing. Just before he would be released back to the vastness above, he realized. Redemption often lies in the calm spaces, the embrace that teaches us to accept the currents of our lives. While enclosed in the depths, he had found the depth of his own spirit. How peaceful, he thought, it was to be unanchored at last. As the water enveloped Jonah once more, a vast stillness embraced him, contrasting the chaotic waves above. In this tranquil abyss, where the sunlight turned to whispers and shadows, he felt the gentle caress of water around him, a soft, enveloping body, cradling his weariness beneath its depths. Each ripple was a reminder of the world above, a world bustling and chaotic, fraught with decisions and paths untaken. But here, suspended in this fluid sanctuary, the noise fell away like beads of sand slipping through fingers. In this solitude, Jonah's thoughts began to unfurl like the ancient ferns of the deep. Cascading from his mind into the currents of forgiveness, he closed his eyes, inhaling the damp, mineral-scented air which invigorated him, offering a bittersweet reminder of his existence, his failings, but also of his potential for change. Beneath layers of oceanic pressure, the past tormented him. Memories of rejection and defiance floated to the surface of his consciousness like air bubbles seeking release. Was it possible for the man who had run to find solace in the depths? He took a moment to collect himself, quieting the turbulence that raged within. In the dark waters, "I seek understanding," he whispered, the words floating freely like tiny creatures of the abyss. One by one, the echoes of his former self began to dissipate into the waves, each articulation a step towards renewal. Jonah recognized that his flight was not a final act, but a beckoning toward enlightenment. In this submerged realm, devoid of light yet filled with unspoken wisdom, he noticed strange and beautiful formations slowly coming into view. Coral structures, akin to ancient ruins, towered like long-forgotten sentinels of time, whispering tales of resilience and rebirth. His heart resonated with their silent strength. Jonah envisioned himself, not unlike these steadfast creations, battered yet still standing, enduring the currents of animosity and doubt. Like the coral that survives beneath the crushing weight of the ocean, he continued his silent prayer. May I too thrive in the depths of my mistakes. Each word was a thread entwining his spirit with the water's embrace. With every phrase, his heart lightened, and slowly, the burdens that weighed upon him began to fade, replaced by a serene acceptance of his journey. He reached for the essence of his plea, longing for forgiveness, for a slate wiped clean where the past could no longer touch him. Let this experience be the clenching of the seashell, shutting the history within, and allowing new life to flourish from within its hard exterior. The metaphor came alive in his mind as he conjured the way a seed grows unnoticed within the tough shell of its home, unbeknownst to the world above. As days began to unfurl in the flowing waters, Jonah realized that truly he had a choice, to either remain buried in the darkness or to accept the fleeting light of his struggles, much like the soft, bioluminescent glow of the antlered tube worms anchored to the ocean floor, defying the oppressive dark. Jonah had not only descended into this ocean, but had journeyed into himself, turning inward to examine the intricate caverns of regret and sorrow. Each wave of forgiveness was a balm to his soul, pouring its purity into the faults he had once shunned, affirming that transformation could emerge even from the deepest trials. As he concluded his prayer, the layers of his past began to dissolve, becoming part of the water around him, ushering him towards a new dawn. The surfaces of the ocean above began to shimmer with hope, reminding him that even amidst depths, light could find a way through, illuminating the path to redemption as softly as the rising sun or gently touches the horizon. In the vast embrace of an endless sea, where the horizon blurs the line between sky and water, Jonah finds himself enveloped in soft shadows. The great fish, a creature of mystery and depth, has become an unlikely vessel of refuge. Here, in the heart of the ocean's depths, time moves with a languorous grace, each moment stretching like the ocean's elastic waves, inviting thoughts to drift and settle like sediments on a tranquil ocean floor. The gentle pulsations of the fish's movements are a rhythmic lull, soothing Jonah's weary spirit. As the currents sway, a comforting warmth surrounds him, a cocoon steeped in the scent of salt and ancient secrets. The water, though dark, cradles him in its embrace, a protecting veil from the chaotic world above. Jonah's heart, once burdened by dread and resistance, begins to soften as he contemplates his surroundings. In this candid stillness, a surprising clarity rises within him, much like the slow ascent of the bubbles from the abyss. He reflects on his choices, each thought unfolding like the delicate petals of an underwater flower, vibrant and intricate. The fish, an ancient guardian of the sea, evokes a sense of kinship. It too is a wanderer of vastness, confined to the shadows yet thriving in the depths of obscurity. Jonah acknowledges a quiet admiration for its role in the great ballet of life, where every creature, from the smallest plankton to the most majestic leviathan, plays a part in the symphony of existence. He begins to understand that he too is part of something immeasurable. The weight of his past decisions, which once seemed overwhelming, gradually dissipates like mist kissed by the first rays of dawn. Each pulse of the fish resonates with Jonah's heart, forging a connection that transcends the air he once breathed and the earth he once walked. The challenge of the unknown offers a profound sense of awakening. To live is to navigate a myriad of emotions, fears, and dreams swirling within the ever-changing currents. As he dives deeper into reflection, Jonah contemplates the depths of his own soul, akin to the ocean's abyssal plains laden with forgotten dreams and buried hopes. He recognizes that just as the fish survives by embracing the deep and unknown, so too must he learn to surrender to the currents of life, accepting the unpredictable nature of his journey. In this cavern of tranquility, he comes to realize that being lost does not mean abandonment, but rather an opportunity for rebirth. Darkness can nurture growth, much like the strange beauty of hydrothermal vents birthing life amidst the bleakest conditions. Jonah finds a peaceful determination blossoming as he lets go of past bitterness, understanding that the sea, with all its uncertainties, holds the potential for renewal. As the waters caress him softly through the ebb and flow, a newfound wisdom emerges within Jonah. It whispers of compassion and forgiveness, not only toward others, but toward himself. The profound realization that, in the depths of trial, one can emerge as a beacon of light becomes his guiding thought. With the horizon still hidden beyond the embrace of the deep, he draws in the salty air and allows a small smile to flicker across his lips, a tender act of acceptance. As he yields to the uncharted path ahead, he finally embraces the chance for redemption, ready to surf the waves of life anew. In that moment, as the sun dipped closer to the horizon, the ocean transformed into a canvas of soft gold and deepening azure, the delicate brush strokes of nature painting a serene masterpiece across the sky. The gentle swell of the waves whispered secrets to the shore, their rhythmic embrace creating a soothing patter that resonated in Jonah's heart, harmonizing with his own breaths. He found solace in this moment, leaning against the warm, time-weathered oak of the fishing boat. The aroma of salt mingled effortlessly with the fading scent of the day, a bittersweet caress as if the elements themselves were guiding him toward a clearer understanding of his own journey. The shadow of the great fish loomed less in his mind, its vastness slowly receding like the shadows of night retreating before the dawn. Jonah's thoughts began to weave from the threads of remorse into patterns of a newfound hope. No longer did he feel trapped beneath the weight of his own decisions. Instead, he discovered the tender light of reflection illuminating the path ahead. Each wave carried him further from despair, washing away the residue of fear and self-doubt, revealing beneath the surface a deeper understanding of grace. Inward, he observed his heart beginning to shift, like a coral reef slowly transforming under the nurturing embrace of sunshine, filtering through tranquil waters. The transformation was subtle yet profound. Jonah realized that his previous flight had been a denial of life and the connections he held dear. He was not merely a castaway, but part of an intricate tapestry where each thread mattered, each life woven together in a dance of redemption. With a gentle sigh, he pondered the expansive ocean, vast and terrible yet stunningly beautiful, where beneath the waves mysteries flourished, echoing the depths of his own soul. He envisioned the thriving ecosystems of the abyss, hydrothermal vents nurturing life in places forgotten by sunlight, teaching him that even the most unwelcoming environments could harbor unexpected grace. Life flourished amidst darkness. It was not hindered by the unknown, but thrived in it, just as he could. Jonah closed his eyes, a new resolve forming within. Was it possible that the currents he feared were merely guides, whispering to him of the new journeys to embark upon? A shift began to blossom in his spirit, akin to the mysterious flora blooming in the depths, ancient, resilient, and filled with the promise of renewal. With each passing moment, he felt his heart begin to unfurl, each layer of isolation peeling away, revealing a luminescent core pulsating with hope. The transition was gentle yet striking, like the first light of dawn filtering through the clouds, illuminating the world anew. Jonah's heart swelled at this thought. Redemption wasn't a singular event, but a continuous unfolding, a journey colored with both light and shadow. As the sky darkened, painting the twilight with a palette of serene blues and tender silvers, Jonah inhaled deeply, embracing his place within the grander scheme. He could feel the weight of the past lifting, replaced by a gentle reminder. The journey to find one's own light often travels through the darkness. With this insight, Jonah smiled softly, feeling that each experience had prepared him to welcome the dawn of a new day, where he would emerge as the sun dipped low in the evening sky. The horizon blushed with hues of orange and lavender, casting a tranquil glow over the sprawling city of Nineveh. The air was heavy with the scent of earth after a day of gentle rains, mingling with the soft, warm breeze that carried with it the distant laughter of children playing. The streets felt alive, filled with the cadence of life, like the steady pulse of the ocean that Jonah had known all too well. In the soothing embrace of twilight, Jonah's mind shifted from the eternal turmoil that had once consumed him. Standing on the threshold of the city, he could feel the rhythm of its heart. Each breath he took was infused with a sense of purpose, an echo of new beginnings reaching deep into the corners of his soul. Once, he had resisted this journey, sought to escape the call to Nineveh, but now, as he watched the melding of colors above, a calmness enveloped him. He realized that the very act of surrendering to this moment bore gifts of understanding and compassion. The tall walls of Nineveh reminded him of barriers he had put between himself and his own humanity, and with each passing day, he began to dismantle those walls brick by brick. As he wandered through the market squares, the joyful hustle began to teach him about the richness of human connection. Vendors shouted their wares, exuding warmth and camaraderie, forming a tapestry of voices that enveloped him like a soft shawl. Jonah reflected on their sincerity. It was a living lesson that vulnerability could lead to strength, and that embracing differences could enlighten the path to redemption. Isn't life like the woven threads of a tapestry? He pondered, kneeling to touch the vibrant fabrics. Each thread representing a story, unique in texture and hue yet interconnected in this great piece of existence. What was once a heavy heart began to lift, fluttering like a bird newly released from its cage. In a quiet corner of the market, an elderly woman caught his eye as she wove delicate strands of colorful thread into intricate patterns. Each knot held a memory. Each twist reflected a tale of survival, and Jonah realized that the true essence of community was interdependence, the need to nurture and be nurtured. He approached her, and she smiled kindly, her eyes twinkling as if they shared unspoken wisdom. "Young man, every thread has its place," she said, her voice the soft crinkling of autumn leaves underfoot. "Life is woven together in ways we may not always understand, but it's in our differences that we find our strength." Jonah was struck by this simple truth. Her hands, though weathered, spoke volumes of resilience. Each weave a metaphor for the lives touched by compassion and mercy. In the quiet exchange, he felt something shift within him. Acceptance replaced anger. Lightness filled the void that had long felt heavy. In that serene moment, as shadows lengthened and stars began to twinkle in the cobalt sky, Jonah understood that his lesson was a gentle whisper amid the symphony of existence. This journey towards redemption, much like the soft waves lapping against the shore, was not a destination, but a continuous arc of self-discovery, growth, and renewal. And as he took his leave of the old woman, Jonah stepped forward, heart open wide, ready to embrace the lessons of Nineveh with renewed spirit. With each thoughtful step, he realized, in letting go of his past, he had begun to discover life's ever-flowing grace. The night deepened, inviting reflection and stillness, and within it, he found a quiet comfort that promised a brightening dawn. In the embrace of twilight, the sea unfurls its deep indigo cloak, stitched with luminous stars that ripple playfully across the horizon. The air hangs fragrant with the rich, briny scent of salt. Each breath seems to carry with it whispers of both challenge and calm, echoing the very tides of Jonah's own turbulent heart. The boat sways gently beneath him, cradled by the rhythmic swell, an unhurried lull of nature reminding him of life's cyclical essence. Jonah leans over the side, his hands brushing against the cool surface of the water, where shadows dance like forgotten dreams beneath the waves. He feels the weight of uncertainty, a familiar guest he no longer wishes to entertain. Memories wash over him, crisp and vivid like images from a gentle stream. His frantic footsteps, the fluttering wings of his panicked thoughts. And then, the deep, consuming stillness that followed his crash into the unknown. With each breath, Jonah grapples with the remnants of his flight, a chorus of voices urging him to recoil, to run once more toward the familiar corners of denial. Yet here, cradled in the vastness, he senses something else, a transformative stillness rising quietly within him, like a slowly unfurling petal in the dawn's embrace, gentle yet defiant. Here, surrounded by immense beauty and the haunting quiet of deep waters, he confronts a new kind of honesty, one that stretches beyond the simple act of fleeing. Fingertips skimming the surface, he notices the subtle shifts in the water. The minute alterations in rhythm speak volumes. Each lap of the sea appears to narrate stories from fathoms deep, tales of ancient coral that hum and whisper secrets of resilience among shadows of towering kelp forests, their sinewy forms swaying like dancers lost in a dream. The ocean, vast and unfathomable, becomes a palpable metaphor for his own life, filled with currents he can no longer choose to ignore. Jonah's heart begins to thaw in this contemplative calm, a fragile openness blossoming where once was only resistance. The great fish had been not merely his captor, but a convoluted navigator, forcing him to reevaluate the essence of home and belonging. Redemption doesn't lie in the pursuit of safety, but in the readiness to embrace the tumultuous seas of our own making, he muses, a flicker of understanding igniting within. For the first time, he lets go of anger, of fear, released into the absorbing ocean. The metallic tang of despair no longer lingers sharp. It mellows, intermixed with the exhilaration of acceptance. As he watches phosphorescent patterns ripple below, embracing this moment like a starry embrace from the cosmos, Jonah feels the tide of his own transformation wash over him. As the last light of day slips beneath the horizon, Jonah recognizes that within these mystical depths, one can find not only darkness, but abundant life teeming with purpose. Each ebb and flow mirrors his journey, a reminder that true redemption is often found in the depths we once feared to explore, in the acceptance of ourselves through the lens of vulnerability. The journey back home is not a return, but an awakening, where running gives way to understanding. Beneath the vast celestial dome, where stars twinkled like ancient lanterns casting their gentle light upon the waters, Jonah sat in quiet contemplation. The scent of brine lingered in the air, mingling with the sweetness of distant blooming flora that drifted teasingly on the breeze. Above him, a tapestry of sky adorned with hues of twilight beckoned to him, a reminder of the ever-present possibility of change, just as the sea beneath him rippled in whispered secrets of the deep. In the cool embrace of the evening, as he listened to the soft lap of waves against the hull of his vessel, Jonah found himself lost in a sea of introspection. The echoes of past grievances danced fluidly in his mind, a chorus of hurt and betrayal he had once clung to with a fierce grip. But as the waters lapped soothingly around him, he felt the tension in his heart uncoil, revealing a vulnerability he had buried under resentment. It struck Jonah how forgiveness was like the tide that ebbs and flows. It was nothing short of transformative. Waves could cleave away the jagged edges of brokenness, leaving in their wake a smooth, sandy shore ripe for renewal. As he reflected on this natural cycle, Jonah pondered the concept that perhaps to forgive was not merely to set another free, but an act that resurrected one's own spirit from the dredges of bitterness and despair. Watching a small school of fish darting in unison beneath the surface, Jonah contemplated their coordinated dance, instinctively moving with each other as if drawn by an invisible thread. He thought of the connections that could only flourish in spaces where judgment was dissolved into acceptance, much like those fish gliding together through their shared home. Each flick of their tail mirrored the beauty that lay in personal transformation, with every shift symbolizing a decision to move forward, to embrace the unknown depths before them. This chance observation stirred something deep within him. Jonah recalled his own moments of floundering in the shadows of grief and anger. The spaces where he had harbored thoughts unworthy of the light and air began to feel heavy, as if they had collected detritus over time. Suddenly, he realized that forgiveness could restore clarity, much like sunlight piercing through swirling waters, illuminating truths he had long shunned. Sinking deeper into this spirit of awareness, Jonah traced back to the memories he had clutched tightly. They were layered, complex, and at times suffocating, like an overgrown kelp forest obscuring the delicate beauties that lay beneath. But with each conscious thought of release, he imagined gently cutting the strands loose, allowing himself to float freely among the reef of potential that awaited him. Through this journey of self-discovery, Jonah unearthed something precious: the legacy of forgiveness. It was a treasure not found in temporal riches, but in the restorative embrace of compassion that offer pathways to conclusion and unity. He began to see his past as an armamentarium, not for retaliation, but for empathy, a library of lessons that nurtured not only his soul, but also those around him. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and indigo, Jonah felt an enveloping warmth settle in his chest. He understood now that forgiveness was a gift he could choose to bestow upon himself, equally nourishing as it was liberating. It became a serene balm for his weary heart. In the quiet aftermath of this realization, Jonah closed his eyes, letting the sound of the gentle waves carry away the remnants of his disquiet, whispering softly, "Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is letting go of the hurt and making space for new beginnings." And as the night fell, a calming peace surrounded him, wrapping him in a blanket of acceptance while the stars above shimmered in silent approval. The late afternoon sun dipped low in the horizon, casting golden threads across the undulating surface of the sea. Each ripple shimmered like laughter, a joyous dance of light upon the water, a canvas breathing with life. A gentle breeze threaded through the air, carrying the faintest scent of salt, mingled with the deep, earthy aroma of wet land. The world felt enveloped in a warm embrace, a balm upon Jonah's soul. As he sat aboard the small vessel, surrounded by the murmurs of the ocean, he allowed himself to float in the quietude of the moment. With eyes cast across the vast expanse, he observed how the waves gathered, then released, as if performing a sacred rite of both giving and letting go. he reflected on his own burdens, the weight of guilt and doubt that had lingered during his journey. As each wave rolled toward the shore, it whispered softly to him, a reminder of the endless cycles of life and forgiveness. The ocean's heart beats in rhythms we cannot trace, Jonah thought, marveling at how deeply interconnected all things were, a hidden web woven by invisible threads of fate. Each wave carried stories of those who had traveled before, lost in the depths or kissed by sunlight, embracing their truth beneath the surface. He could almost hear the soft echo of their regrets, mingling with their triumphs, merging into a symphony both haunting and beautiful. Turning his gaze to the vibrant colors of the horizon, he noticed how the sky transitioned from the fiery oranges of day to the tranquil blues of twilight, a painted reminder of transformation. Just as the sun must give way to the moon, he mused, we too must embrace change, welcoming each rise and fall like an old friend. In the quiet of the moment, Jonah felt within himself an awakening, an understanding that redemption was not merely a destination but an integral part of the journey. He recalled the great fish that had once swallowed him whole, perceiving it now not as a beast of burden, but as a vessel of reflection and enlightenment. In the belly of that creature, he had wrestled with darkness and despair, but also with the promise of rebirth. What appeared once as a calamity had transformed into a profound lesson. That which engulfs us can also teach us to emerge renewed. With a newfound clarity, Jonah saw that his life was a continuation, an ongoing story etched upon the very water that curled around him. He understood now that the currents of the sea mirrored the ebbs and flows of his own spirit. Joy and sorrow mingled like deep-sea corals, resilient and intertwined, thriving in environments once thought inhospitable. Their beauty lay in their survival against the odds, a testament to the strength that exists within the heart of struggle. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, casting their distant light upon the waters, Jonah took a deep breath. The night wrapped around him like a soft cloak, enveloping him in its soothing embrace. The gentle sounds of the sea cradled his thoughts, and he smiled, recognizing that as the dawn inevitably follows dusk, so too would he find peace. In this tranquil acceptance of life's rhythms and cycles, Jonah realized that closure was merely another wave approaching the shore, inevitable, yet always beautiful in its arrival. With this awareness settling warmly in his chest, he whispered a quiet affirmation to the sea and sky. I am here, I am whole, and I am ready for what. And so we have followed our wayward seafarer, Jonah, as he embarked on a journey unlike any other, a saga woven with the threads of denial, the depth of despair, and ultimately, the embrace of redemption. From his fateful decision to flee God's call and sail toward Tarshish, to the tumultuous storms that raged both above and within, we rode the waves of his defiance, feeling the swells of anguish that threatened to swallow him whole. He spiraled into the depths, finding himself enveloped in the cold, dark belly of the great fish, an unexpected sanctuary that became an incubator of reflection and transformation. Hours turned into what felt like lifetimes in that watery womb, where Jonah's heart softened and his resolve unwound like the threads of a frayed net cast away into the tides. As he prayed in his solitude, the rhythm of the ocean matched the cadence of his awakening, exposing the vulnerability inherent in running from oneself and God. In the belly of the beast, he learned that surrendering to his fears did not signify weakness. Rather, it became a conduit for understanding divine love and mercy. Eventually, Jonah emerged, reborn, as though washed anew onto the shores of his destiny, a man refreshed, ready to confront what he once fled. In those final moments as he delivered God's message to Nineveh, it became clear that true humility lies in acknowledging our frailty, in recognizing that we are not above being lost, nor beneath being found through grace. Jonah's journey teaches us that redemption often requires us to face the very things we wish to escape. It urges us to plunge into the depths of introspection and climb back towards our own shores. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden glow over the horizon where sea met sky, Jonah stood transformed, a masterpiece shaped by the tidal forces of repentance and understanding. Just like the ocean itself, our lives ebb and flow, shaped by the currents of our choices and the whispers of divine grace. So, as you settle into the gentle embrace of night, remember Jonah and the great fish. Let their tale remind you that even the most tumultuous storms can lead us back to ourselves, and from the depths we may find the strength to rise anew. Drift softly away, knowing we too navigate the vast waters of life, seeking the shores of our truest selves beneath the color of twilight's embrace. Each wave, a promise, each tide, a reminder.